Hello there, I'm Nicolás Rubia Pérez and this is my video for the exam TIC. In this first part I'm going to carry out an activity for an imaginary classroom. This activity will be centered around the theme of recycling, as it's an important habit that we need to foster in kids. Firstly, I will show you the initial details of the activity, which include the age of the students, the student profile and the curriculum goals. Firstly, age of the students. The age group of the students will be from 9 to 10 years old. This means that they are students from 4th grade. Secondly, student's profile. There isn't a specific student profile. This task is correct for every student. If the teacher thinks that there could be complication for their class, he or she can change some aspects of the activity. Curriculum goals. These activities adapt to different educational objectives from the Spanish curriculum LOE. Moreover, there are many subjects involved in this project, so there are many classes available for working in it. The subjects are natural sciences. In this subject, the activities adapt to different objectives, but the one that fits better is recognizing and describing environmental problems, proposing actions, and sustainable habits. Secondly, Spanish language and literature. It also adapts to different objectives, but the better one is creating oral and written texts in a coherent way, adequating them to the communicative situation. Third, plastic and visual expression. In this subject, the one that fits better would be participating in comparative projects with an expressive, aesthetic, or communicative objective utilizing visual and technological resources. Civic and ethical values. This subject isn't a compulsory one, it's optional between religion and it, so no lessons of it will be used. Again, the objective that better fits in this subject is recognizing and evaluating individual and collective habits that help the common well-being. For creating these activities, I asked an AI called Skimbly to create 3 different activities that included the use of an image creation AI, a stop-motion app and a Kahoot. It gave me some ideas and then I modified it. These activities are going to include creating a comic, a stop-motion video and responding to Kahoot. Moreover, for the first 2 activities, the class will be divided into several groups of 5 students each. Now I'm going to explain the first activity. Now I'm going to explain the first activity. Creating a comic about recycling. The AI has proposed a plan of 3 steps. For that we are going to dedicate 3 lessons. One for designing a little story, another for creating the little comic, and a third one for presenting it to their classmates. These are the steps that they are going to follow. Writing the story. Firstly, each group will be assigning an object, a bottle, a piece of paper, and an eaten apple. Secondly, they will research where the object has to be thrown out and then they will start the story. Each group is going to create a story about a kid that doesn't know how to recycle, who will try on all bins but they aren't the correct one. Finally, an ecological superhero will help the kid to know which is the correct bin for his or her trash. Creating the comic. Each group will use a computer for the TIC classroom. They will all use the same AI and will recreate their story. The objective is creating from 4 to 6 images and then joining them for doing a little comic. It will include some dialogues explaining what's occurring on each image. For joining the images, they are going to use Canva. Third lesson, presenting the comic. Each group will present their creation in front of the class. Then they will discuss all along about recycling. The objective is to get the whole class to talk about recycling. Now I'm going to explain the second activity, creating a stop-motion video about recycling. For this activity, the students will remain in the same groups that they were divided for the previous task. For this activity, they will have 3 lessons, being then divided in 2. First, learning how the app is used and preparing a mini story. The teacher will explain how the app is used and then the groups will unite and will start creating a mini story. This story shall show the proper form of recycling on each trash bin, showcasing the different objects that must go in each one. Creating the video. Each group will prepare the things that they are going to use. For this task, they can only use paper, colored pencils, and scissors. They will divide the roles and, when everything is finished, the teacher will help them to make the video. They will take the photos and prepare the video. 3. Presenting the video. Each group will present their video in front of their class and then the whole class will discuss the importance of recycling and how they recycle in their house. Now I'm going to explain the third activity, which is solving a Kahoot prepared by the teacher. For this final activity, the students will solve a Kahoot and prepared by the teacher. For it, the TIC classroom will be used, and each student will use a different computer. If there are enough computers, they can form pairs and do the Kahoot together. Only one lesson will be used for this activity. Now I'm going to explain the second activity, creating a stop-motion video about recycling. The value of the digital tools used in these activities, DeepEye, Stop Motion Studio and Kahoot, can be evaluated thanks to the PicRad framework. DeepEye is a valuable tool because it helps students improve their use of electronic tools for educational purposes. It helps them understand the use of different prompts for getting different and better results, and it can be used as an introduction for a good use of AI in an educational context. Canva is a valuable tool because it helps students to create original and beautiful presentations or designs for their projects, improving their creativity thanks to all the things that they can do with it. Stop Motion Studio is a valuable tool and because it gives students another useful tools for the creation of original videos, and it also makes them improve their creative skills because they have to draw or make their own product for the different photos for the video. Also, it helps them understand that the use of electronic tools for educational purposes is a valid option for their projects as long as they are the ones doing the product. Finally, Kahoot is a valuable tool because it helps the students to reinforce the learning that they have done. It makes them try harder because of the competitive nature of the game and helps the teacher to evaluate the acquired knowledge of the students. In conclusion, these apps are very valuable because of the benefits for the student that they present, as they give students more options for the elaboration of their tasks and projects. They enhance the creativity of the student and they can be a great introduction for a correct use of AI in an educational context. Moreover, obviously, these activities will need to be assessed and evaluated. For that, I'm going to use two different rubrics. For the Kahoot, I'm going to take into account the points achieved. These rubrics are composed of 4 scales and a punctuation mark from 1 to 10, being excellent a mark of either 10 or 9, good a mark of either 8 or 7, basic a mark from 6 to 5, and needs improvement a mark from 4 to 1. These marks are a bit open, due to the fact that evaluating isn't a clear thing. There are many things that to take into account, so there is a space for adding or subtracting 1 point. Now I'm going to leave some time for you to see the 2 rubrics. For evaluating the tools, I use the rubric for e-learning, centering the evaluation on the privacy, data protection, and right parts. So the results for each one are DeepEye. For using this eye, you are not required to create an account because you can generate some images each time without logging in, but if you want to get better results, you have to, and to get even better results, you have to subscribe to a premium plan. This tool doesn't ask you for any personal information, only for your email for creating the account, so you can maintain your data private. Finally, you can save or import your images in a JPG format, but you can select the format. Using this rubric, I have decided that this tool has passed this exam. Second, Stop Motion Studio. For using this app, you are required to create an account, so all your data and privacy are safe. Moreover, you can save or import your work in multiple formats. Third tool, Canva. For using this app, you are required to create an account, only for asking for your email address. Moreover, all the functions aren't available if you don't pay, but there are many free functions. Lastly, you can save or import your designs in numerous formats, and you can even present your presentations on the same web. Fourth, Kahoot. You are not required to create an account for answering to it, only for creating the Kahoot in itself, so only the teacher has to. You can save anything, but there isn't anything to save, so it isn't a problem. For making whatever activity, we have to take into account the ACAD framework, Activity Center Analysis and Design. This framework is divided into 3 sections, the social design, the epistemic design, and the set design. For my activity, I have taken into account this framework, specifying its design. For my social design, the students are going to work in groups for the first 2 tasks, creating the comic and the stop motion video. Moreover, there will be presentations, so we will see the role of the audience, the ones that will see the presentations of their classmates. Also, there will be a professor which
I will be. For the epistemic design, the students will work in storytelling as they will create a little comic with a story and an informative video about recycling. Also, there will take place an exhibition of their work because they will present the work to their classmates in the first two activities. Moreover, they will create a final product in the first two tasks, a comic and a stop motion video. For the set design, the students will work almost all the time in the classroom, where they will create the stop motion video, write the story for their comic, and present both tasks to their classmates. The TIC classroom will also be used for the creation of the comic and for answering the Kahoot. Third activity. They will use pencils, paper, and a table for preparing the stop motion video, as they have to draw what they will showcase on the video. Finally, they will use laptops, the ones that the school will provide, for making the stop motion video. In conclusion, this framework is really important for creating whatever activity, as we have to take into account many designs. For this second part, I'm going to respond to three different questions. The first question is this one. Firstly, to answer this question, we should refer to the meaning of PLE. For Trey Martindale and Mike Ndodi in Personal Learning Environment from 2010, a PLE is a specific tool or defined tool collection used by a learner to organize his or her own learning processes. However, they also signal that there is no direct and unique definition of what a PLE is. For me, this is due to the fact that a personal learning environment is indeed personal and changes for every person. Some of the elements of this course that I should include permanently on my PLE can be many tools that I have discovered or that I have been forced to use. I would add some that they have been very useful for me, like Canva, a tool that we can use for creating many things, from presentations to Instagram posts or pamphlets. I could also add Google Docs, a tool that I knew that existed but that I didn't start using until this year, and it has become the tool that I use the most. The third tool I would add is ChatGPT, but not only for answering questions or making schemes. The use that I discovered this course was for reflecting on the work done, something that I didn't know was possible and is very useful for improving my work. This aspect of ChatGPT could be useful for my future career, as it will help me to reflect about the activities that I create for my students. The fourth tool is Lucid App, a tool that is used for creating mind maps. I think that I didn't do much last year, but I will definitely start using it more. For the fifth tool would be DeepEye, a tool used mainly for creating images. This tool could be very useful for creating images for projects or presentations, so it is a tool that will definitely be part of my PLE. The second question of the second part is this one. Having in mind the dish competitive framework, I can easily think about some elements that are more relevant. For me, they are the next. Digital resources. This area of the framework can be defined as the one that centers on the selection of resources, how to detect them, and how to evaluate if they are covered for the task that you want to carry out. Moreover, it can also stand for the ones that create these resources, how to write them properly without falling in false information or creating one that isn't completely correct. One example of a course activity useful for developing this competence was the evaluation of tools, where we evaluated if the use of these tools is correct. This means if they didn't abuse data, permits, or privacy. The second one would be facilitating learners' digital competence. This area is important because it centers on facilitating the practice of our students, what information to trust, how to communicate with others, how to create content, or how to use with responsibility the digital tools. The point of content creation is where I find the most clear example of an activity from this course where we developed this competence. The activity is the comic creation one, where we had to create a comic using an AI which generates images. The comic that we had to create was one that contained a hieroglyphic style. The third one is empowering learners. I think that this is possibly the most important area of the framework. Mostly the actively engaging learners. It isn't just about making the students stay engaged through the different activities, but also to make them stay engaged with thinking and doing their personal work in them, not substituting their thinking by artificial intelligence. The task that we have done that fits better with this area is the ethics in AI1, where we created one infographic with advice about this theme, for using the AI better as a help and not as a maker of the work. The third question of the second part is this one. For this final question I have to answer two different aspects, so here we go. What grade I have earned, I think that I dedicated a lot of time to getting this task well done, so for me I would deserve a good grade for this aspect. Nevertheless, I have to take into account more things. The originality of the activities isn't too big. I think that it is a very important thing for the times we are living in. I mean, recycling is a truly important habit that can help to save the world from pollution, so I thought that it would be a great thing for the activities. The tools used are really interesting for using them in a primary classroom. Personally, I think that we have to expose children to a good use of the AI, so making them to work with it can contribute to it. Having in mind all these things, I would say that I deserve a grade around the 7, which is a great mark, but reminds you of the not much originality of the thematic. Second question, the most challenging role. All the roles were difficult. Ones were easy to carry out, but for me the most difficult one was the translator, because you had to do a lot of research to get all the concepts and find great reference that helped the understanding of them. So it was the most difficult one due to the time that you had to spend for performing it. Third question, utilization of the AI. I try not to use the AI too much, obviously I use it for creating activities because it was required, but in the rest of aspects I try to depend on my knowledge and thinking. I also used AI for developing a rubric for evaluation of the students. I asked the AI for some ideas and I used them to think about it. So I use it a bit, but only for inspiration and for getting a general idea of what to do.